give you one illustration of how difficult that is. That means we're not locked into just two genders. That's the big hurdle. The church is having a hard time with that. There are more than just two genders. And if you believe that that is the ironclad law, then what you're revealing is that you really don't have a very deep understanding or knowledge about human nature.
13 is your time. Morehouse College, the only all-male, historically black college, says it will start accepting transgender students next school year. The Morehouse Board of Trustees making that decision Saturday during a vote. Now, because Morehouse is an all-male school, it says it will admit students who identify as male. Students who are born male and identify as female will not be eligible for admission.
Tonight, we are hearing from one of the Morehouse students now suing the school and a staffer after claiming he was sexually harassed on campus. Michael Key first came forward with the claims on Twitter last week. Shortly after, staffer DeMarcus Cruz was put on leave, and the school announced it was investigating multiple employees accused of bad behavior. Key says his main goal is change.
The people who are in charge of these students, who are supposed to make sure the students safe, who tell the parents that when they leave, they'll make sure they have our backs. I want them to do their job. And if it's whatever the system they're using now isn't working, I want them to change that system.
Morehouse has yet to respond in detail concerning the allegations. A former student is also suing the school, claiming a faculty member sexually harassed him on a study abroad trip in 2015.
Today, I want to take the family into the classroom. And I often, talk and I pull up the receipts and I teach. Now, you guys saw, oh my God, they want to bring transgenders into Morehouse and they want to bring the LGBT and the Skittles crew into the black church and all these things. Well, I've been trying to warn you guys about this for 10 years. I've been talking about the 2030 agenda, UN 2030 agenda. Nobody in black media talks about this. So everybody's upset. And they say, well, wait a minute. Why do we see the rise of transgender and LGBTQ and women in power? Well, it's a world global agenda that's in place. And I've been teaching this on my old channel for years. Nobody would show up, but everybody's complaining. But you're complaining about stuff that you don't understand. And these are the things that I want to go over and show you guys today. This may be one of my best videos I've done on this channel, right? And God willingly, it gets views. We'll see.
In the year 2015, the world agreed on the ambitious, inclusive, and universal Sustainable Development Goals, making a commitment to leave no one behind.
It is so decided.
Just a few months later, we are already seeing those promises transform into first concrete steps for action. On 21st of April, presidents, prime ministers, and other high-level representatives from around the world gathered at the UN headquarters in New York for a high-level debate on achieving the SDGs now that the goals and targets have been set.
We have no time to waste.
It's now time to turn this agreement into policies and action, into laws and budget lines.
Also on hand were several of the SDG advocates, prominent members of various segments of the society from government, business sector, entertainment, sports and culture, whose mission is to raise awareness for the SDGs and spur public into action towards their implementation.
I think that these goals are really truly a blueprint for how we can deal with the needs of our society and of the world.
I find this the chance for this generation. Clear goals, moral basis, good ethics, combining economic prosperity, social justice, and environmental sustainability.
Our collective commitment to the 17 Sustainable Development Goals is our most important defense in ensuring the benefits of our modernizing world are shared among all nations and among all people, and not just the privileged few.
These are not goals about poor countries. There's still a long way to go to really achieve sustainable development, whether you're in a rich country or a poor country.
There's no way we can talk about sustainable goals without concrete actions
about what is happening not just in our world, but also on the continent that I come from.
All of these things are touching us. All nations are involved in this, and unless we deal with that, unless we all come together, we won't be able to solve the problems of our own country because we haven't solved the problems of the other.
We need first to take seriously the goals, because these are the world's goals. They're the only goals we're going to have for our generation.
I guess the world I always am looking to see is a world that is filled with lasting peace.
So with that, we're seeing change be implemented all throughout the world, and it's happening right in front of your face, right? You're being conditioned to do a lot of things in this new world that you wouldn't have never done in the old world, right? They're normalizing things right in front of you because they're pushing an all-inclusive society, something that never existed before. Everybody wasn't always included, right? So you're seeing things that when you were a child, you said, this is an abomination, this is not right. Well, they're normalizing it to you now, right? And everybody's getting a chance. Everybody's getting a shot to shine, right? So now, a lot of stuff that's going on in Morehouse, these colleges, on these jobs, this is being funded by the UN. This is a global global agenda that all nations around the world are coming together to push this, right? Now, we know the global elites are wicked and they have their agenda, but this is part of one of their agendas, to lure you in to this so-called all unified gender and whatever genders they're making up. All of this is coming together. Now, you have black people that's pushing the Bible, and they're upset about this, right? And they're voicing their opinion. But I'm trying to tell you, it supersedes your biblical, what they gave you in your biblical understanding. This in this work from this worldly thing, right? It's superseding this, right? If y'all don't believe me, look at what they're doing.
Morehouse College was built to produce strong black men. That has been its mission for over 150 years, and for generations it worked. But something has shifted, and the men being formed on that campus are being shaped by a very different vision of manhood than the one most families signed up for.
Thank you for this question. So I remember I was in the second grade, and I was washing my hands in my grandparents' bathroom at 231 Branham Avenue. And when I looked up into the mirror while washing the residue of the soap off of my fingers, I looked into the mirror and the Spirit of God spoke to me. I'm one of those spooky type of people that believes in spirits and ghosts and haints and all these sorts of things. I really buy into our African ancestral traditions. And so I heard the Spirit speak to me. And there are people who may think I'm crazy, but I heard the Spirit speak to me. And the Spirit of God spoke very clearly and said that you are fearfully and wonderfully made, and I affirm your attraction to men. And I am going to use you to sound forth the music of liberation.
Yes.
To those who are oppressed, who are like you.
This isn't a cancer culture conversation. This is a family leadership conversation. And if you have a son, you need to hear this. Every parent who has ever sacrificed to send a child to a prestigious institution knows what that investment represents. It is not just tuition, it is trust. And right now, that trust is being tested. Morehouse recently unveiled a portrait of Bishop O.C. Allen inside the Martin Luther King Jr. International Chapel on campus. And I want to be clear, this is not about one portrait on one wall. This is about what that portrait represents, what it signals, and how long that signal has actually been broadcasting. If you are a parent, a father, a family builder, this conversation is for you.
Now, when you get here and you look here, right, and I've been trying to teach and tell people, but it goes on deaf ears. This is the United Nations. This is on one of their websites, so it's not me just running my mouth. Transforming our world, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, right? The agenda is a plan of action for people, planet, and prosperity. It also seeks to strengthen universal peace and larger freedom. We recognize that eradicating poverty in all its forms and dimensions, including extreme poverty, is the greatest global challenge and an indispensable requirement for sustainable development. All countries and all stakeholders acting in collaborative partnership will implement this plan. We are resolved to free the human race from the tyranny of poverty and want to heal and secure our planet. We are determined to take bold and transformative steps, which are urgently needed to shift the world into a sustainable and resilient path, right? So now watch this, right? They seek to realize the human rights of all and to achieve gender equality and the empowerment of all women and girls. They are integrated and invisible, right? And balance the three dimensions of sustainable development: economic, social, and environmental. So here we go. We go to people. We are determined to end poverty and hunger in all their forms and dimensions, and to ensure that all human beings can fulfill their potential and dignity and equality and health and a healthy environment. We are determined to protect the planet from degradation, including through sustainable consumption and production. Sustainability, managing its natural resources, and taking urgent action on climate change, right? Prosperity. Now, I want y'all to listen. I want y'all to pay attention. We are determined to ensure that all, not some, not a little bit, not maybe one country, we are determined to ensure that all human beings can enjoy prosperous and fulfilling lives, and that economic and social and technological progress occurs in harmony. Peace. We are determined to foster peace, just, and inclusive. I'm going to say that again. We are determined to foster peace, just, and inclusive societies which are free from fear and violence. There can be no sustainable development without peace, and no peace without sustainable development, right? When we go across the street over here, it's telling you the UN 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, specifically SDG 5, aims to achieve gender equality and empowerment, and empower all, not a little bit, not some, not the ones across the street or around the corner, not the ones with big booties, not the tall ones, not the short humpback ones, all women and girls by 2030. So when you see these movies and you see these women in these masculine male positions, and they're incentivizing equality, they're destroying the black family, destroying the nuclear family, period, right? They're not incentivizing you to have babies. They're incentivizing women to be equal to men. You see women come running the UN. You see women prime ministers and presidents all over the world, and women taking hold. This is being funded by the global agenda in front of your face. So when you online making videos and you're upset and you're mad, these women are being socially engineered and psychologically conditioned to see the world through a different lens. This is an agenda. I've been telling y'all this, but nobody listens, right? Right? It focuses on eliminating discrimination, violence, and harmful practices, ensuring equal leadership opportunities, and providing universal access to sexual reproductive health. However, progress is slow, with 340 million women expected to be in extreme poverty by 2030. Ending violence and harmful practices, eradicating violence in public-private spheres, including trafficking and sexual exploitation. Legal structural reform, repealing discriminatory laws and enacting legal protections. Economic empowerment, recognizing unpaid care work, improving access to decent work, and reducing gender digital divide. Participation in leadership, ensuring equal participation in political and economic decision making, right? So most of the stuff I agree with. The problem is the implementation of the way that they're doing it. I don't agree with the people that's empowered this doing it, right? Because they're creating a divide amongst the genders, and they actually taking away rights from women by fostering in the Skittles crew. And now they're saying, what is the gender of a woman? So you're being played, but don't realize you're being played, right? But the UN, they having these meetings all over the world, and they're talking like
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Benjamin Nolan, and I'm speaking on behalf of the International LGBTI Association, ILGA, the Swedish Federation for LGBTI Rights, RFSL, and Choice for Youth and Sexuality. Human rights systems and the Agenda 2030 are complementary and mutually reinforcing. They are two sides of the same coin and cannot be treated as opposing or separate systems. If lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and intersex persons are denied their human rights, they are left behind and denied the promises of the 2030 Agenda. It is paramount that technical cooperation is ensured to ensure a coherent and inclusive implementation of the SDGs that also benefits and fully includes LGBTI populations. We call on states to utilize the LGBTI recommendations of human rights mechanisms in developing strategies to implement the SDGs that are built on human rights expertise and provide clear pathways to improve the situations for LGBTI persons, correlating directly and specifically to the SDG goals and its targets. We also call on all involved parties to take a human rights-based approach and meaningfully collaborate with LGBTI civil society when sourcing data to monitor the implementation of the SDGs. In this process, we urge states to take extra measures to capture the hard-to-reach LGBTI persons, such as the young, the illiterate, the homeless, and indigenous peoples. This data should be disaggregated, following the guidance of civil society, to capture the intersectional identities and lived realities of all LGBTI individuals. We finally urge states to use the opportunity of the VNR to share best practices with regards to LGBTI inclusive technical cooperation in the SDG implementation. We commend those who held workshops and other consultations with LGBTI groups and urge all other states to follow this example and work directly with LGBTI populations and organizations in the implementation of the SDGs. The SDGs vowed to leave no one behind, and this includes LGBTI persons. Our question would be, what strategies can you share to ensure that LGBTI persons also enjoy the promises of the 2030 Agenda? I thank you, Mr. President.
Je vous remercie. I now turn to the list of speakers for national human rights institutions and the NGOs, and the first speaker is Swedish Federation for Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual and Transgender Rights.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. SDGs bring a promise of a world in which every woman and girl enjoys full gender equality and all legal, social and economic barriers to their empowerment have been removed. It also promises to be people-centered, gender-sensitive, respect human rights and have a particular focus on the poorest, most vulnerable and those furthest behind. Lesbian and bisexual women, trans and intersex persons are at heightened risk of being discriminated and excluded. Structural and societal barriers result in discrimination and institutional violence. It is often linked with other factors such as gender, race, socioeconomic status, age, sexual orientation, gender identity and expression, sex characteristics, drug use or HIV status. Trans people face particular challenges within healthcare settings: sterilization, forced psychiatric diagnosis, abuse, humiliation, inferior quality of care, extreme violations of autonomy and bodily integrity, or denial of healthcare as such. Some research shows that almost a fifth of trans people were refused care because of who they were. It perpetuates a vicious circle of stigma, exclusion and poverty. This cannot be seen as leaving no one behind, and it must change. While implementing the Goal 3, states must acknowledge the devastating impact or intersecting forms of discrimination that LGBTI persons face within the healthcare system. The SDGs promise a world with equitable and universal access to healthcare and social protection where physical, mental and social well-being are assured, and it must be applicable to everyone without exception. To close, what do the panel think should be the first 3 steps for states to ensure that LGBTI persons are not left behind in the implementation of the Agenda 2030? I thank you.
Thank you.
So let me say this, because without using the term this agenda supersedes your Bible, I'm not talking about the power of the universal creator most high. I'm talking about the way you've been conditioned to believe. The way you've been conditioned to believe. So because you don't study nothing else but the Bible, you don't read anything else, you don't understand the playbook, the tactics, the agenda. So then you're upset when you see them doing things that's contrary to what you believe. You have to understand how to strategize and have a proper defense to call things out. Because it's more to life than just protesting or coming online and being upset. You got to study the playbook. So now when I'm giving you the playbook and I'm showing you what black media ain't showing you, because the one thing about the devil, Big Mom used to say the devil is a liar. If Big Mom was a liar today, I would say, Grandma, I'm sorry, but Grandma, but the devil ain't a liar. The devil don't never lie. The devil tell you the truth right in front of your face. It's up to you to understand what he's saying and to decipher what he's putting in front of you, right? He puts it right there in front of you. You got to go do the research and do the work to understand how this stuff is operating. So now because you don't do the work, you see this stuff happening at these HBCUs because they have all-inclusive societies. So now in the all-inclusive societies that nobody get left behind, they're funding, they're telling these HBCUs, we'll give X amount of money to your endowment if you put this into your universities. So now you have these teachings and you have people upset.
Because what is at stake is something no diploma can replace.
Give you one illustration of how difficult that is. That means we're not locked into just two genders. That's the big hurdle. The church is having a hard time with that. There are more than just two genders. And if you believe that that is the ironclad law, then what you're revealing is that you really don't have a very deep understanding or knowledge about human nature and the human species. You don't realize how the whole creation is evolving, changing every day, growing up to be something very different. And people, as Dr. King used to say, just want to be free. Free to be themselves. And there's where the toxicity comes in, because you have institutional resistance in the church, in the government, and in the universities. It's been going on since the beginning of civilization.
Here is what I need you to understand. The institution was never going to do the job that only you can do. And the moment we stopped paying attention, the drift had already begun. Institutions do not drift overnight. They drift slowly, one small shift at a time. I know this firsthand. Back in 2001, I took my son on a Black college tour through Atlanta. Morehouse had offered him a scholarship, and he turned it down. Not because the academics weren't excellent. He turned it down because of what he observed when we walked that campus. The effeminate energy among several administrators and students was visible even then. It was not subtle. And my son, who knew exactly what kind of man he was becoming, looked at that environment and said, this is not where I want to be or need to be.
Well, see, while you're upset, they're ushering it in. And you have millions of people that's part of the LGBTQ community that's in the Black community that's happy that this is happening. And they're on the universities, they're finally getting a chance to come out and live their life the way that they want. Now, to us, we might feel like it's an abomination and it's not right and it's not, but for them, it's right. What we like to do actually, right, and with our partner, to them, what they do is normal. To them, in their mindset, no matter what we think or what we want to call it, in the 2030 agenda, this is what they're pushing. So in the all-inclusive society, they are welcome now. And you can't even say certain words no more because you'll get in trouble. You'll lose your job, right? You get into an argument with one of them, you get in trouble, you'll lose your livelihood. This is where we're at, because I'm telling you that it's being funded by the global agenda. That's what's funding this. So now, right? Listen, well, let's just show this.
seeing all of the queer and beautiful blackness that was the summit. It was just such a beautiful and amazing experience.
It was definitely an amazing experience that I'm never going to forget.
It gave us a lot of hope.
In the black community, you are the only gay kid, and in the gay community, you're the only black kid. And that is another just dynamic that you have to navigate.
I believe that the problems of LGBTQ students can be invisible, and then there's still the family pressure too. Sometimes there's going to be an unease with having those conversations about how do we have an inclusive campus.
My story really started at 13, and I came out to my parents. Something that still kind of hurts me to this day is when my dad told me, he was like, they would actually have to let the person that they wanted me to be and the person that they thought I was die.
I was 5 when I realized I wasn't a cis boy. I identify as trans and queer. I came out very publicly. We had a convocation with Alice Walker, and we got to ask questions. And so I said, I'm a trans man, and everyone's like, immediately after that, people are on Twitter like, I don't know if I feel comfortable with a trans man and Spellman. I kind of just felt like on the outside of everything.
The HRC HBCU Leadership Summit is an annual convening of LGBTQ students attending HBCUs across the country. Each year, we bring close to 40 students. That number is growing. There's no other space like it.
The setting that the summit created was specifically for us to be Black and queer. In most settings, we're not allowed to be both.
I've never been in a room with so many people like myself.
Everyone I met is so incredible. We kind of like formed a bond that we didn't have anywhere else.
And you all are accepting me, and you all don't even know me.
At the summit, I definitely felt like I belonged, like from day one.
The summit is our hallmark leadership development program. Students that are able to be their real selves and lead from a place of authenticity are able to do more. This program changes lives.
I think, it's really just having that experience to really be validated in a way that I don't think they had ever been validated. I think it empowered them, helped them understand what kind of role they could play as a leader on our campus to address issues.
Things that I do now are gonna be better for the future. So I think like the freshmen, the sophomores, they're gonna like reap what we sow.
Having such a safe space where we could all be our complete selves and just be unabashedly Black and queer in a setting in which we know that we'll be accepted is so important just for our own personal survival and to rejuvenate the passion we have for the fight, to remind ourselves why we're doing this.
I feel very hopeful for my generation. From the leaders that I've met there, I see a lot of change, and I'm happy and I'm ready for it.
I'll give my perspective. Which I'm entitled to have. I disagree with homosexuality. I disagree with it. I have my beliefs, right? But I love my people. My love for my people is stronger than my my disliking for that lifestyle, right? So I don't have to hang with you. I don't have to go out to the club with you. I got first cousins that are from that community, right? I love them to death, right? I disagree with what they do. I can't stand it. I don't like it. From a biblical perspective or my spiritual perspective, I believe it's an abomination. But their humanity as human beings, I love them. That's my family. You better not say nothing to them or touch them. You have to deal with me. That's my family, right? So they have a right to their humanity. They have a right to be human beings. They have a right to live. They have a right to have rights. I have a right to disagree with that lifestyle. That's my perspective. I can't tell you how you should think, so don't nobody tell me how I should think. That's just my perspective, right? You have a right to have your own, right, on whatever way you think, right? I always hear people say, oh man, F them, we need to unallow them. I say, well, start with your own family first and then come talk to me. Because you ain't coming, you just talking. I ain't really with all that wild, crazy stuff. I disagree with the lifestyle. I think that the transgenders should have their own transgender sports or whatever they want. I don't think they should be talking to children in schools. I don't think that nobody should be talking to children in schools. So there's a lot of things that I disagree with. But I also believe that they have a right to humanity, the same way I have a right to humanity. But I don't believe all sexual behavior in the public is wrong to me. So it's just what's being pushed, and they're being pushed out into the society. And that's just where we at today, whether you like it or not. So it's not just the city or the school. The school is being funded by this global agenda to push these agendas, to normalize this into your society, right? Now, for me, like I said, I disagree with it. I don't like it. But one thing I know for certain, two things for sure, that regardless of what I like, it was always here. They had laws against this stuff 3,000 years ago. So it existed then. It exists now, right? A lot of them are underground. You guys ever get that? You guys ever read the Gay Revolutionary by Michael Swift? I read that to you guys. I can't put it on here because they'll give you a strike. Out of Fordham University and Michael Swift. I read that. Robert Stahl, Toxic Masculinity. I gave you all guys this. I teach this stuff, man. Right? I teach this stuff. So a lot of people be running their mouth, but they don't do no research. They don't do no studies. You just make emotional reactions to things. I look at things, I can disagree, but I see what the agenda is. So within the agenda, I disagree with the lifestyle. I can't stand it. But that don't stop me from loving my family. That's from that lifestyle. So I believe that they have a right to humanity. They have a right to live, right, according to the way that they want to live. I don't have to go, no, I don't have to be around it. That's it. And when I do, I give everybody the same respect that I require. That's it. And that's just where I'm at with it in the world today. But y'all let me know what y'all think and give your opinion. Don't tell me how I should think. Just give me your opinion, right? If you made it this far in the video, hit that like button, subscribe to Street Media TV, leave your comments in the comment section. And remember, I love y'all. Till the next time. Peace.